And from reading the various blogs that have come out from news sources, it says political consultant Dan Proft announces possible plan to run for governor.
Do you want to make that more?
Are we going to go any further than you're going to?
I am. I'm going to announce today on Don Wade and Roma that I am going to run for governor in 2010.
That's very interesting. This is a big step. You have not held elected office, correct?
No, I have not. Never run for public office, but of course.
And that's a strong suit, actually.
Yeah, I mean, for the last 15 years, I've been in the Illinois political arena, kind of slugging it out, running campaigns, being the guy behind the guy, serving in state and local government, and obviously immersed in public policy, even with things that I've done for the show here with commentaries. But this is the first time I'm running for office.
Well, that's a pretty exciting big step.
You know, what's really interesting, Dan, in talking to you here and comparing you with, for instance, the current governor, Pat Quinn, on TV last night, bouncing up and down like a pogo stick and fear-mongering about getting that budget passed.
Right.
Usually when you discuss fiscal issues, it's not bouncing up and down and fear-mongering. It's more logical and reasonable.
Well, I thank you. You read that just like I wrote it. Yeah, I mean, I still think I've got a bit higher vertical than Pat Quinn does. But you know, his whole routine, and really the Democrats' whole routine, it's not just Quinn. He's just kind of the front guy right now. To say, you know, don't make me open the jailhouse door and let these 6,000 prisoners out. Don't make me cut these social service providers. All this is exactly what they always do, which is precisely what you said, scare tactics to get tax increases through, to make the regular folks in Illinois have to pay for the corruption and mismanagement that has gone on under their watch for a generation. I mean, it has been a decade of Chicago Democrat rule and everything that's been wrought in Illinois in terms of corruption and our economic collapse. You know, can be placed at their doorstep, and I really think it's time for a fresh debate. I think the real problem in Springfield, or one of the big problems, is the parameters of debate are so small. You've essentially had both parties buy into this false virtue of bipartisanship, which is just nothing more than a euphemism for going along to get along. And we need robust debate in Springfield and clear contrast vision, particularly from my party, the Republican Party, about where the Republican Party would take Illinois, the market-oriented reforms that we should pursue if the Illinois electorate put their trust in us again.
Well, it looks like the Democrats are manipulating. We've seen Lisa Madigan go and speak with the president about running for Senate, maybe opening the field up so that Quinn will have a straight run at the office, because he's not been elected to office. That is yet to be seen, whether the public, whether the citizens of Illinois will actually elect Quinn.
Right.
But it seems to be that they may be maneuvering to give him an open run.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think if the tax increase doesn't pass, I think Mike Madigan might be fearful of his daughter having to wear the jacket for a tax increase were she to run and be successful. So maybe the timing from their perspective isn't right. But I think that all these kind of machinations of who's going to be slotted for Senate and who's going to run for governor and who's going to wear the jacket for what, this just goes to the point that all the politicians, really from both parties in the state, always talk about Illinois is broken, our state's broken. And Illinois is not broken, it is fixed. The systems that people think are supposed to provide services and responsive government are not intended to do that at all. The systems in Illinois state government is producing exactly what it is intended to produce, which is a loyal, dependent, and dependable voting bloc for the Chicago Nine, the 9 Chicago Democrats that run this state. I mean, the system is set up to sustain and advance their political careers, and that is all that they're interested in. I mean, you don't hear robust talk about Medicaid reform. You hear all this talk about musical chairs on the Democrat side. Who are we going to slot for this and who are we going to slot for that? What about the fact that Illinois is 48th in the country in economic performance over the last decade? We lost 175,000 jobs last year. Our unemployment rate just last week hit a 25-year high, over 10%. And these guys are trying to figure out who's going to run for what. I mean, they're so far afield from the actual concerns and the relevant debates that should be going on in Springfield. It's really appalling, and I just don't see anybody holding them accountable.
Maine miracle. I don't know if you happen to see that. It says, at last there's a place in America where tax cutting to promote growth and attract jobs is back in fashion. Who would have thought it would be Maine? And they go through the fact that they're actually cutting taxes in the state of Maine. And the reason they're doing it, according to the Democratic governor in Maine, is they say a big tax cut, especially given that, oh no, let me move to the next paragraph. He said, we're definitely going against the grain here, said Baldacci. He said, these lower tax rates will encourage and reward work, and the lower capital gains tax will bring more investment into the state. Last year, Maine was ranked as the third worst business climate in America, and no state has improved its economic attractiveness more than Maine has this way. And the one question is how Democrats in Augusta, Maine, were able to withstand the cries of tax cuts for the rich. Well, Mr. Baldacci's snappy reply is, without employers, you don't have employees.
What a novel concept. You tax something less, you get more of it. So you tax work less, and you get more of it. You tax investment less, and you get more of it. I mean, these are not kind of crazy newfangled ideas. These are tried and true ideas that always work when they are tried. For some reason, they are not tried in Illinois, and we know why, is because Illinois state government is about creating dependency, which creates loyal electorate. And it's not just in Maine. I mean, right next door in Indiana, you had Governor Mitch Daniels on a couple weeks ago. Mitch Daniels is telling everybody in Chicago and Illinois, come on over.
He's governing with fiscal responsibility.
We're low on property taxes. I mean, in the last 2 years, Mitch Daniels has attracted $15 billion in foreign investment in Indiana, more than any other state in the nation, because of exactly what you say, Roma, his fiscal responsibility. And what are we doing in Illinois? We're doing the exact opposite. We're telling the business community, we're interested in raising your corporate tax by 50%. We're interested in raising personal income taxes by 50%. We come out with doomsday scenarios and scaremongering. Meanwhile, Governor Quinn proposes a fiscal year budget this year, which has a 6.5% spending increase. If it's such gloom and doom, then why do we continue to spend? I mean, it is, but here is the problem. In the absence of competition, in the absence of anybody holding these folks accountable, they get away with it. And I'm frankly just sick and tired of it.
And so Dan Proft has decided to toss his hat into the ring, even though you're not wearing a hat. I've never seen you in a hat. Yeah. You're going to toss your hat into the ring to create the competition so that there can be some competitive ideas. And people will have some idea that, gee, maybe there is another way.
I know you will bring competitive ideas about education, about educating our inner city kids.
Well, this is the big issue for me. Look, if we get education right, Don, you mentioned the best social service program is a job. Really the best social service program is a quality education that allows you to be a successful adult. If you get education right, a lot of these other problems take care of themselves. And in the city of Chicago, responsible for educating 400,000 kids, you have a system that graduates about half of its students and will only send 6 out of every 100 graduates on to get a bachelor's degree by the age of 25. 6 in 100. And as we know, and more so in our digital age, the difference between the haves and the have-nots in our society is those with a college degree and those with only a high school diploma. And 50% of CPS is not even getting that. What is going on in the Chicago public school system is not just incompetence, it's not just unfortunate where we should wring our hands and say, oh, gee, isn't that too bad? It is child abuse. I mean, I honestly believe it is child abuse. And this is the amazing paradox of Illinois politics. Nobody wants to defend these systems. Nobody wants to defend CPS, and nobody wants to change it. Nobody wants to defend it, and nobody wants to change it. That means somebody's interests are being served, and it sure as heck are not the students in CPS.
Proft2010.com, and the full story is there.
Yes.
With videos and stuff.
And developing, yes. The full story and developing.
Okay. I found it interesting.
I hope you'll whip them all into shape.
I found it interesting that the current governor says we've got to pass the tax increase by Wednesday. He wants a vote Wednesday. And then we'll talk about, let's see, it was ethics reforms and the pension reform.
Right.
But first, vote the tax increase, and then we'll talk about the reforms.
Yeah, it's always the money first with these guys.
And
thank you very much, guys.